He represents the mitten by way of Penn State. When Chapman gets to talking sports, the people can't wait. He represents the mitten. Be a true EMU, but cut Dennis in the fall, and his veins bleeding blue. They got respect around the state. When that light turns red, so don't sleep on these dudes. Just invite your friends to cut your nap short and tip your cap for and sit back for the Fith chapter. Brian Chapman. Dennis Fith again. When they open their mouths, they spit in the facts, bro. This ain't even optional, man. You just have to tune into YouTube to watch the broadcast or download it to your phone to peep the podcast. They mix laughter, they get after. It's all captured in the Fith chapter. That's right, and welcome to the Fith chapter. I am Brian Chapman. He is Dennis Fith, and we're ready to go for episode number 99. And wait, hold on. Another Spartan football player just entered the transfer portal. Hey, there's another one entering the transfer portal. I don't know if they're going to have enough players to field the team this fall, Dennis.
I did see they got that one linebacker from Tennessee who said on his Instagram that he was headed to the University of Michigan State. He spelled Michigan wrong, but
he spelled Michigan wrong, and he called it USM. Or MUMS.
Hey, you couldn't make it up. You know, a lot of people saying he's going to be a perfect fit up there. I don't know. He's a heck of a player. I know Michigan wanted him, but that wasn't a very good start. University of Michigan State.
You know, that's actually fairly common, and I think it's hilarious and it's embarrassing. You're going to commit to go there for 4 years, or you're transferring to go there for 1 or 2. You think that you put some time into it, and you would think you put enough time into wanting to be a Michigan State Spartan that you would at least know that it's MSU, Michigan State University, instead of University of Michigan State. It's like, it's one thing if national media members keep on screwing up Mark D'Antonio's name and calling him Mark D'Antoni, Mike D'Antoni, Marv Donatello. But if you're a player on the team, if you're attending the school, how do you butcher the school and continue to call it the University of Michigan State?
Hey, you know what? Spelling online doesn't matter anymore. That's it. It wasn't his profile, though. Like, I screw up tweets all the time, but my mistake, I'm going to tell you what I think my mistake is that, I don't have my readers on. So sometimes the I's and E's, and I'm over there, tweeting, and then people are like, you don't know how to spell or something. I'm like, I screwed that one up. I didn't review it as closely as I should have or something like that. But, if you're putting it in your profile, you should go back and make a little review there and check it out. But that's getting off on the wrong foot.
Yeah, we all make errors on Twitter. I make errors where I should proofread and say something else. But when you're putting out something as significant as your commitment to a college, at least know that it's Michigan State University instead of University of Michigan State. And once again, the guy you're talking about is not the first to have done so. It happens all the time. At least one recruit per year says University of Michigan State. So, anyway, I want to thank everybody out there for tuning in to episode number 99 of not the chapter Fith, but the Fith chapter. We've got 5 more fantastic chapters for you. Thanks to all who are watching via YouTube, watching via Facebook Live, and watching via Twitch. Also to those who are listening to the podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and participate in each show. And you can do so by sending in your feedback on Facebook Live and on YouTube right down there. Dennis will be reading it throughout the course of the show. And if you're wondering what we'll be talking about on episode 99, let's take a look at today's book. In the second chapter, we'll play a little what if. What if the Lions aren't done at number 7 and they decide to trade up from number 41 in the second round to the back end of the first round? We'll tell you who they should target if they want to do that. In the third chapter, we all know that every NFL draft, there's one player that falls like Aaron Rodgers. Sometimes it's for a good reason, and we never hear about that player again. Other times, like in the case of Aaron Rodgers about 15 years ago, he becomes one of the greatest players of all time. Who will that be in the first round this year? In the fourth chapter, we have to talk about these sorry Tigers. They're dead last again. We'll tell you what we think the best way is to rebuild. And in the fifth chapter, we'll try to make you guys a little bit more money with the major wager, especially for those of you watching and or listening in the state of Michigan, where, of course, sports betting is legal. And Dennis, before we go on, we also want to let everybody know about our Fith Chapter contest, NFL draft contest that we have for this Thursday.
That's right. Use the hashtag the Fith Chapter mock and make the picks 1 through 10. And then also for the tiebreakers, say where you think the first Spartan will be picked, like number 100. That's what I'm going to go with. So put that number on there where the first Spartan will be picked. And then 1 through 10, you get 1 point for the number 1 overall pick, which would be Trevor Lawrence.
Perhaps.
And whoever that pick is at 10, like Patrick Surtain, if you nailed that one, or the Cowboys pick, and you will get 10 points there. So that's how it works. And we got a prize coming up from our friends at Pro Sport Zone. That's in the Laurel Park Mall there in Livonia. They got Super Mario Manningham signing at the Pro Sport Zone in early June. So we'll keep you up to details on that. I'm going to go scoop up that prize here before Thursday. We're excited about that. Extra credit for anybody that wants to go to the podcast page and leave all of that information in the review under there. We'd appreciate that.
All right, Dennis, let's turn the page to the first chapter, and that takes us to the NFL draft in 2 days on Thursday. And it's one of the most exciting, matter of fact, the most exciting day if you are a fan of the same old Lions on the calendar. Certainly not the Super Bowl. It's certainly not the day after the first loss of the season, which is usually the day after the first game of the season. And there's been all this talk for months about should the Lions trade down, and some teams have already made their trade down. There's been all this talk about who they should take if they're sitting there at number 7. But Dennis, you sent me this question via text earlier today, and we'll put it out there so everybody else can answer it, so we can answer. Which player, if he's still on the board at number 7, makes you stand pat at 7 no matter what and take him?
Yeah, well, I think realistically there's only one player. I mean, I could say that if Trevor Lawrence fell to 7, that the Lions should take him. I think the same thing with Zach Wilson, but I think that there's like 0% chance of that happening. I do think there's a chance that Justin Fields, although if I were the 49ers, I would take him at 3. If I was another team, I would jump up and get in there with the Falcons or the Dolphins, and I would trade up to get him. But if Justin Fields falls to 7, like there's a possibility that could happen in Vegas, his over and under number on draft position is 7.5. Little spoiler for my major wager. I'm picking the under on that one. But there are a lot of people that think he's going to fall. Heck, there's one hot take. One hot take thinks he's going to fall almost out of the first round.
Yeah,
amazing. But I think if Justin Fields is there at 7, I think that the Lions should take him. I think you can make an argument against taking Justin Fields, and that argument is that the Lions are going to be really bad, and they're going to be really bad next year. So you can go and take a quarterback then. And why get his rookie contract started? You get the 5 years there. Why, if you know that you're not going to be good for 2 years and he's going to be sitting on the bench, why do you waste that rookie contract right there? The way you want to do it is to be able to get that rookie quarterback and play him, and then by year 2, you're hoping to be up and running and you're in a good situation. I get all that. My thought here is that you don't know that if you're necessarily going to be up this high again. You don't know if you feel like you're going to have a quarterback that's worth it again. And if you like Fields and you think he's going to be an elite quarterback like I do, I think you take him here. And I think you go in with the idea that he's going to sit this entire year. And I think there's a possibility that he could sit in year 2 as well. But you know what? You could play him in year 2. And if he is an elite quarterback, if he is one of those guys, well, then you're in good shape. You know what? By year 2, if you're sitting there and Jared Goff takes off like some people think, well, that's good. You've found your quarterback, your elite quarterback, if you really think Jared Goff can do that. If you think Fields is a bust after 2 years, you can also move on from him then, and then you can go back in the draft again. Throw as much as you can at that quarterback position until you get it right. I would snatch Fields. He's the one player there that's going to make me stay at 7.
Well, look, I like Fields, and I've said for close to a year that I don't think it's a guarantee that Trevor Lawrence is better than Justin Fields, because I think Fields is that good, and he's proven it over the past year. I like Micah Parsons, and not just because I'm a We Are Penn State alum. I think that he is the best defensive player in the draft. I like the wide receivers in Waddle. Whoa! I'm afraid of dogs. Uh-oh. I like the wide receivers in Waddle, Chase, and Devontae Smith. And we all know the Lions have arguably the worst wide receiving group in the NFL. Maybe the Eagles could give them a run for their money. And if the Lions were just a regular bad team, I would say that one or two of those guys would make me stay there no matter what. And given the rebuild, they have holes everywhere. They just have to, they can trade someone. But given that they are so bad, I don't think they can turn down a phone call no matter who is available. That said, for the purposes of this exercise, if everyone is there, all three wide receivers, Sewell, Fields, Parsons, I would take Parsons. Fields might be a little bit better, but the Lions have $134 million owed to a two-time Pro Bowler in his mid-20s. That's a heck of a lot of money to a quarterback who should be in his prime, and his contract is just starting. The Lions have garbage with no potential at linebacker. I mean, nobody's sitting here saying, well, what if Jelani Tavai takes off? No, none of that. And with no promise, with not a heck of a lot of money committed into the linebackers, they need if they're going to stand there at number 7, I get that some mock drafts have Parsons dropping, but if the Lions are going to stand pat, they should take Micah Parsons. Don't worry about any red flags. Take the best defensive player available. Take the guy with the huge issue of need at linebacker, and take the guy who's going to be a guaranteed Pro Bowler, if not in his first year, certainly in his second year. I think that he's that much of a lock, that much of a great player. And you said earlier that there's no guarantee the Lions are going to be able to pick this high in the 2022 season, just in case Jared Goff is not any good and they could blow their opportunity to get Justin Fields. The way I look at it is the Lions are picking number 7, and they're going to be worse than that, with like a 95% chance of being worse than that in the 2021 season, which means they're going to be picking higher. I think there's a very good chance they'll be picking among the first 2. And even if they're sitting there at 3 or 4, they got an extra first-round pick, so they can move up a couple slots if they want to get whatever quarterback is there. Therefore, I don't think that the Lions should be sitting there. I know that in Allen Park, they'll be sitting there thinking, oh, yeah, we think we can be a playoff contender. But realistically, that's not going to happen. They're going to be even worse next year unless Jared Goff somehow takes off higher than I think is even potentially possible. So if the Lions need a quarterback next year, he will be available at the top of the draft, and the Lions can take him.
Yeah, well, I don't think the Lions think they're going to be any good. That's why they gave Dan Campbell a 6-year contract when normally you get a 5-year contract. And that's why when Holmes came in, he talked about he didn't like the word rebuild, but he used retool. They realize what's going on here. Look, if you think Micah Parsons is that good, there's a lot of people that think Sewell, is going to be that good. So you can justify, I think Jalen Waddle looks like a great wide receiver. When I saw that Peter King's mock draft today, when he had Nick Saban comparing Waddle's competitiveness to Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, it's just this is the kind of guy that you want on your team. And he looks like a can't-miss guy. Sewell looks like a can't-miss guy. Parsons looks like a can't-miss guy. But you know what? There's one thing. If you trade back, let's just say to the Patriots at 15, you get another first-rounder, there's a chance that one of those guys could be there at 15. So,
yes.
Yeah, when you're picking in the top 7, the idea is that you're picking a can't-miss, Pro Bowler or All-Pro guy. That's how you feel. You better feel that way if you're picking like that. So the thing to me is that you got 4 or 5 guys in a cluster there that you feel that way, unless it is the quarterback, to me. And you have to really feel like that. Like you're talking about him, you feel like that about Fields. I don't know. Maybe you'll feel about that way about one of the quarterbacks next year. Maybe you won't, though. And, to me, Fields is that guy. That's why if I'm sitting in the draft room and I'm making the final decision, I'm telling the guys, hey, we're looking to move back. There's a cluster of guys here, and we're going to continue to move back because we're going to build up that war chest. And we're really thinking about 2022 and 2023. This is going to show the fans, not necessarily that they need to be shown that, but it's really accumulating all these picks. You can make all these moves, and you're really thinking about not being competitive in the NFC North this year. Vegas, there's a reason that when you look at the numbers in Vegas, that they have the 2 worst teams in the NFL is the Texans and the Lions. this is. I hate to just put them in there with the Pistons, Red Wings, and Tigers, but it's tank
Why
time.
not?
It's rebuild.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's rebuild time. That's what it is. So, let's. You could be. You can love one of these guys here, but I got to think at 7. If you're the Lions brain trust there, they already said that there's a cluster of players that they really like there.
Yeah.
There's a cluster of players that I like. I mean, I like
Same here.
Parsons. I like Michael Parsons.
Mm-hmm.
I like Sewell. I like Waddle. I like Devontae Smith. I think
Chase.
Unless it's your QB. What did I say? I like Chase too.
Yeah, just adding him.
I like Chase too. I didn't think he was going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the tight end. I don't want him to take Pitts, but I mean, so I think moving back is the way to go unless it's Fields. And I know a lot of, if you're like, I don't want to take a quarterback, quarterback's always a controversial pick either way. Mm-hmm. So that's the one thing that will get Lion fans all fired up for sure, whether he's going to be good or not, is if they take a quarterback.
Yeah, and while I like Micah Parsons, and I think that he's can't miss. I think that he's, like I said, a Pro Bowler, and if in year 1, if not year 2, I would still trade back like you for the Lions' sake. There's a lot of players to like at number 7, and there have been times in the draft where the Lions could sit there at 3 like they were last year. They could sit there at 20 or whatever if they make the playoffs and get blown out in the first round. You say, I don't really like these guys. But given the amount of holes that the Lions have at this point right now, having one of the 1 or 2 worst rosters in the NFL, there are a heck of a lot of players you could argue for. I would not take an offensive tackle, but given their right tackle issue, you could make an argument for drafting Penei Sewell. And you know what else? I was just thinking, I don't know if you saw this, but about an hour or 2 before the show, Dave Burkett of the Detroit Free Press put out an article about Taylor Decker, the offensive lineman, the left tackle of the Lions, and Decker has announced in his great Deep South Buckeye wisdom that he's not going to get the coronavirus vaccine. He chose not to explain why he wasn't getting it, but he said it's just a personal choice. And the way I look at it, particularly because Dave Burkett pointed out in his article that if you have been vaccinated, you don't have to do things like quarantine for several days if you come into close contact with somebody who's tested positive. Maybe the Lions would entertain shipping out Taylor Decker to a team that needs an offensive tackle right away, and then drafting Penei Sewell, taking a first-round pick from that team, because what you don't want is for a stubborn Deep South Buckeye who is an anti-vaxxer to on Friday, 2 days before a game, get his hair cut by somebody who tests positive, and then all of a sudden, because of close quarantine, Decker has to miss the game, and then Jared Goff gets sacked 6 times.
Yeah, well, you know what? I agree with you when it comes down to getting vaccinated, but I don't know how many people are watching right now believe in you, but I do know in this country, just like in politics, I don't know if it's 50-50 or what the breakdown is, but there's a huge segment of America that doesn't believe in getting vaccinated. We can call them names, we can do whatever they want, but they don't believe in it. How do you give incentives for people that do? And there's all kinds of reasons. I know people that said, well, I already had it, so I don't want to get the vaccine. I don't want to be a test case dummy. I don't know. There's a million reasons. So, I mean, are we just going to look down on those people? Are we going to give incentives to the people that do get the vaccine? However it works there.
But from a football perspective, do you think it makes sense to potentially put him on the block, especially because there are guys like Slater and Sewell who might be available for the Lions at 7, because the Lions might say, we don't want to have to risk our left tackle having to miss a game or 2 and then our quarterback getting crunched?
You know what? I think that I was going to say slippery slope. I don't know if that's – I think that if you're going to be in that position, you might have to be willing to ship like 10, 20 guys out. I mean, I don't know how many guys are saying they're going to be vaccinated or not, but I don't think Decker is going to be the only one on the Lions that's going to have that position. It'd be pretty interesting if you're able to go through every single one and see what it is. But, if I had to just put a guess on it, I think 30 to 40% of America – is anti-vaccine when it comes down to this, that this thing's over, the masks are off. Look at Texas. and they're all good down there. People think that we're over this, and everybody's got a right to their opinion there. I would like them to get the vaccine, but you know what? I can't say that I'm going to trade somebody off the team if they don't get it.
All right, what kind of feedback are we getting?
I'm going to say that we're getting a lot. I keep seeing the screen like flashing in front of me, flash, flash, flash. So let's go through it here.
Who do the fans want?
Well, let's see. It's good to see Jelinek. He's in there. He's ready to go. My voice, I think with the change of the weather, my voice normally, it's been a long time since I felt like I was getting hoarse, but I think with the change of the weather, it just happened. So
yeah, I've noticed.
I'm going to just have to you do all the talking here. Keith is there. A lot of people just saying, what's up? Jelinek saying your worst spelling error is spelling my name wrong every time. I want Fields too. This is from Keith. As Dennis and I have said before, Fields is too good to pass on at 7. Yeah, you know what? It's funny as you go over the years and you meet people and how some people, when it comes down with your fandom, you're just like in lockstep. Keith, almost everything that happens with the Lions, our Lion fandom, we're similar. I think I'm a little bit older than he is, but our Lion fandom, we view the Lions through the same prism. We almost always agree on who they should draft and who they shouldn't. So not a surprise that Keith and I are in lockstep when it comes down to this.
He's your little puppet.
No, we're just boy. We just have the same. Oh yeah, Keith Chapman thinks you're my puppet. You can go in and weigh in on that. Keith is saying if San Francisco can take a QB and they already have Garoppolo, who's taking them to the Super Bowl, and they get Josh Rosen, and they got Josh Rosen, who sucks, but you never know. Teams do this all the time. Make sure they get the quarterback right, which is the most important position on the team. I'm starting to wonder if San Francisco is going to take Pitts, and that's who they're trading up to get. Ooh.
Pitts and Kittle.
Pitts and Kittle and Jimmy G. You know what?
I found it pretty interesting that the San Francisco 49ers would trade all the way up to the number 3 pick in the draft, given that they have Garoppolo. Obviously, the injury issue that he had last year tanked their season. They went from being a Super Bowl contender to just being a blah team, an average NFL team. And I get wanting to fix that. And but, I mean, if Jimmy Garoppolo is healthy, then a potential Super Bowl team has a wasted first-round pick and wasted all those draft picks that they used to get up there. If Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt again, or if Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt a couple times in the next couple of years, then certainly trading up to number 3 to draft Fields or Jones or Lance makes a heck of a lot of sense. But if Garoppolo's injury issues are behind him, and they don't know, certainly his contract is not behind him, then it's going to be a very questionable pick.
Yeah, well, look at what the Rams are doing. Like, they moved on from Goff, and a couple years ago, he was really productive. I think Garoppolo, the 49ers looked at it, if he connects in the Super Bowl, I mean, he had the wide receiver running free, and he overshot him by, 10 yards there. I know one play, doesn't make it, but I think when you're San Francisco and you look, you see the playmaking ability of a guy like Patrick Mahomes, and you just say, look, man, we just have to up the playmaking ability. I mean, the Rams, they just gave all the money to Goff, and, Goff's not half bad. We know he's not elite, and we know Stafford's not, but Stafford's just better. How much better? A little bit better. And, they're going all in just so they can get, Matt Stafford there. So I think it's 100% sure thing that the 49ers are going for a QB. Which quarterback? I'm surprised. Too. I'm surprised they're not going Fields, but you know what? Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. You sit there and you just love Mac Jones, and you think he can operate your offense just to 100% efficiency. You think that's the playmaker? Then you take him.
Well, I think the reason to take him is because. From listening to a lot of experts, whether it's Peter King or Chris Sims or some of the guys on ESPN, a lot of them say that if you need to win a game right now, the guy that can diagnose defenses and make the quickest decisions right now best is Mac Jones. He doesn't project to be the best quarterback in the long haul, but in the short term, the guy who's best Fith to start right away is not Fields, is not Lawrence, is not Wilson. It's Mac Jones. He played in a pro-style offense in Alabama and all that. And when you think about the San Francisco 49ers, they're looking for a quarterback who is probably not going to be a long-term project, somebody that can step in right away and lead them to a Super Bowl. So that might be that would have to be the rationale if they're going to take him over Fields and some of the other guys.
I hope they take Lance, because everything you just said right there doesn't make sense if they take Lance. But
yes,
I hear what you're saying. Keith says, I just can't believe that they traded up to get Jones when you possibly could have had not to trade it up that far. He's not the third best QB, so I find it hard to believe they're going to select him. Here's MAT. Mac Jones is going to do nothing in the league. He's a Josh Rosen. Sideshow Raj, I want to see Chappie drink some of that goat milk. Set it up, Dennis.
Yeah, okay. I'm not drinking any goat milk.
You sounded like a goat there. That was awesome. Did you do that on purpose?
When?
Just now, you're like, I'm not going to drink any of that goat milk.
No, I did not do that on purpose.
Yes, you did.
No.
Clip that one out. We're going to put that on Twitch. That was awesome, especially if it was unforced. Jelinek, Goff won't be great next year, but the Lions receiving corps will have something to do with that. Yeah. I like everybody. I like how hell bent on everybody's like, no, we don't need any wide receivers. We don't want any wide receivers.
Okay.
Carson Wentz has been great, and something about Lance makes me worry. Maybe he means hasn't been great. I don't know, because he hasn't been great.
Yeah, Carson Wentz has been terrible.
No to Smith. He'll get murdered in the NFL. Hey, look, you know what? There's a lot of guys. Usually when you go in the first round, you have all the measurables. You know, all of it. You got the size, you got the speed, you weight, you made the production in college and all those things. Smith, he doesn't have the measurables, but I'm not counting him out, man. Guy, to me, I'm his number one fan, so.
Yeah,
if the Lions took, I don't think they should take him at 7. If they move back to 15 with the Patriots, and I would take Waddle in front of him, I would take Parsons. But if the Lions picked Devontae Smith at 15, I'm not going to kill him.
If they took him at 7, I wouldn't kill him, just because they have such a huge need at wide receiver.
Keith asking if we have seen Lance being interviewed and how intelligent they say he is. I don't know, but he seems like a cool dude, and he's a freak athlete. He's 6'5" and has a cannon arm, and he is 19 years old.
I have not seen him, and I mean, I don't know much about North Dakota, but I mean, can you really be cool if you're from North Dakota? I guess somebody has to be, right?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to hold. I thought usually I don't like the takes of Dan Orlovsky, but I'm seeing if I can find. I thought
North Dakota is not a cool state.
Yeah, Orlovsky, who usually doesn't make good points, I thought made one when it came down to taking somebody like Lance. Most of the guys that are taken from like small colleges, they've actually succeeded. But I don't think you're taking Trey Lance. I'll be sitting here Thursday. By the way, 8:30 we'll be on. So right when the 49ers are going to be making their pick coming up Thursday, like right when we log on, we'll be ready. So the fireworks will start at 8:30. Sit in and draft with us. We're going to have a great time on Thursday. Sideshow Raj is not. He's not getting the vaccine. He says it right here. I think he's got the no vaccine. There it is.
Sad.
Is it simply a marketing image thing that makes the major sports leagues won't make the vaccine mandatory? That's a question from Joe.
I mean, it might not be legal. Well, it might have an issue with. They might have an issue with their respective unions if they force them to get the vaccine. That's what I would guess. All right, let's turn the page to the second chapter.
Yeah, we'll keep reading some of these. Beth, by the way, on Facebook, I know I'm not mowing through them as quickly as I should, but Beth says if Jamar Chase is there, she's not moving. She's taking him.
That's a strong possibility as well. He's the top receiver.
All right, we do move to the second chapter, as Chapman so eloquently put it. And this gets us to the Lions' second pick. They don't have the 7th overall pick which would be 39. They are at 41, chap, right? That's how it
correct.
works. In the second round, Buffalo and I think Philly actually is in front of them. My memory is correct there on the second round order. But what would have to happen? Who would have to be there for the Detroit Lions to move back into the first round, at the tail end of the first round, and select a player? Do you have somebody in mind, Chapman?
Yeah, they've done things like this in the past, like when they drafted Kevin Jones, they moved up to number 30. So I think that is a possibility. Oftentimes, especially if you're a senior citizen, early bird special type of individual, you might say, well, I'll sit up and wait till the number 7 pick in the Lions draft, and then I'm going to hit the hay and go to sleep. But you need to watch the whole thing, because it's not like the Lions are sitting there with their second round pick at number 57. They're only at 41. They could creep a few spots up. And I don't think in general it makes sense to trade back into the first round to get a player when you're at the very beginning of a rebuild and you have a bottom of the barrel roster. They need to load up on picks, not give up 2 or 3 to get a player, but maybe trading away Taylor Decker would be a way that you could get that late first round pick. But if there's a guy at number 27 or so that is still hanging around that you had in the top 10 or top 15 that is available, it might make sense. There have been some mock drafts that have Micah Parsons from We Are Penn State falling into the late teens. Maybe it's because he didn't play last year. Maybe it's because he has those quote-unquote character issues. I don't know, but if he's falling because of false character concerns into the 20s, I would consider trading up for him. Like I keep on saying, there's no real... Look, he's not going to win the NFL Man of the Year, but he's also not going to be on the police blotter all the time. He's not, or ever, I would assume. He's not going to be beating up folks. He's not going to be...
all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Once in a while.
Yeah. Once a year. No, he's not going to be on the police blotter. He's not going to be choking out girlfriends and doing all sorts of drugs. At least that wasn't the case at Penn State. He's the best defensive player available in the draft. So if he slips down to the mid-20s, then would it make sense to move up 12, 15 spots to get him? I think that could make sense. I could also consider trading up for who I think is the second best linebacker in the draft, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from Notre Dame. I probably wouldn't do it, but second best linebacker, if he's there at 25, Cleveland at 26 is probably going to take a linebacker. If he's your guy and you think that he could be right up there with Micah Parsons, I could see giving up something and move up the 15 slots or 16 slots to get him at number 25. I wouldn't trade up for a wide receiver as badly as anyone because there is a lot of depth in this draft, but one of those 2 linebackers I would consider.
Yeah, look, if you're sitting around and the Lions make their draft board and the draft board comes out and they're sitting there and they've got, a player at 10, and all of a sudden you're at 28 and he's still on the board, well, that can make some sense for you. But normally a team that if you're going to move back into the first round, you're going to look for a quarterback. You get a 4-year contract for everybody from rounds 2 through 7, but the first round draft pick, you get them for 5 years. So to get that extra year as a quarterback. So if you're the Lions and you're sitting there at 41 and I don't know if you evaluate Kellen Mond or Kyle Trask and you really think that the guy has a chance to develop and be an elite quarterback, or you want to take a chance and you really think that everybody's missing it and you've got him that high, well, that's when I think you go back and you get into the late first round, you get that extra year on a quarterback. But for the most part, I think that the Lions, because they're in a rebuild, they're looking towards 2022 and 2023, that they shouldn't go on out there and make that move. Most of the time, you're right. They did. I think Javid Best, they moved back into the first round as well to get him.
I think so.
I unless you want to get that extra year from the QB, like the Ravens did that to get Jackson.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson.
They got him at 32. All right, that's what I see there. Sorry about the voice here. What could I do?
It adds some juice and character to the show.
Yeah, well, here we go. Kenneth Decker is from Ohio State. What do you expect?
Exactly.
He says, yep, the Lions have never had a great quarterback, although Fields is from OSU as well. He used a little winking emoji. Trey Lance is from Minnesota. Jelinek pointing out. PB, good to see him in the live chat, says North Dakota makes good hockey players. Okay. Mac Jones only played 1 year, Keith pointing out. And Paul W., good to see him. if you want a pass rusher, how far to trade down to get value, and what player is the best pass rusher? Paul asking.
It seems like Kwity Paye is the best pass rusher. I know that there are some folks saying that Jason Oweh of We Are Penn State is up there with Paye, and I can tell you that for a lot of Penn State fans, that's a surprise. Like, he's always been a freak athlete, arguably the fastest player on the team, which is saying something for a defensive end, saying something when you compare him to Micah Parsons and some of the other fast players on the team. He didn't have any sacks this past year. Penn State didn't miss any games, and for 9 games to not have any sacks, that's a surprise. But a lot of the experts who say, well, he was putting a heck of a lot of pressure on and didn't get to the quarterback, but it wasn't his fault. Like, watching Penn State football games last year, I mean, not only was I surprised, but a lot of my friends were surprised to see Jason Oweh continue to pop up in the late first round on these mock drafts, because when you watch Penn State games, he didn't really pop off the page to you. Like, he came to Penn State as a 5-star recruit. He chose Penn State over Ohio State, so we appreciated that. His first year, he played just a little. I think he might have redshirted his first year, played a little bit in his second year, and his third year, this past year, he got a heck of a lot of hype, but didn't make a heck of a lot of plays. So I would not take him in the first round. I certainly would not trade up into the late first round to take him. I'd be happy if it happened just because I'm a Penn State fan, but it would be a confusing pick to me.
Yeah, I think a guy like Paye, I've seen him go as early as 11, but there's no guarantee that he's going to go there. I see a lot of mock drafts that have him going at 20, so if he's, there at 25, that's not going to be a huge shock. So you could go back. I think there's 2 intriguing defensive ends from the U. Both guys from Miami. One has a situation where he opted out this year and only played 2 or 3 games, got hurt like the year before. That's it. That's all you've got. But he's such a freak athlete that, he looks like he's first-round talent. That's a gamble where you're at there. And then his cohort on the other sides also look to be pass rushing specialist there from the U. So those are 2 guys to keep an eye on if you're moving down. Mm-hmm. In fact, if you were sitting there and you're just like, we have to have a defensive end, whoever you are, and you're like, we just move late into the first round to grab one of those guys, whichever one you like the best.
Yeah, I think that Paye is the best defensive end in the draft, but if I'm looking to draft a defensive end, I probably wouldn't take one in the top 15, and I certainly wouldn't be trading up into the teens in order to get Paye or any other defensive end. All right, that's the turn the page bell. Let's turn the page now to the third chapter, and that takes us to the NFL draft once again, and it takes us to who's going to drop. The player who's projected to go high in all these mock drafts, or was projected to go high in a lot of mock drafts, and slips out of the top 15, maybe out of the top 20, maybe out of the first round altogether, maybe into the third or fourth round, who knows. Aaron Rodgers is a guy that always comes to mind, as he was projected to be a top 5 or top 10 pick and then fell into the mid-20s when the Green Bay Packers picked him, and he ended up being the best player in that draft. But this is the guy that a lot of folks are going to be talking about probably not 48 hours from now, but maybe 50 hours from now, when we see that a guy has been a top Mel Kiper Jr.'s best available players for the last not just 3 or 4 picks, but the last 10, 15, 20 picks or more, maybe even last into day 2. One prime candidate to be the Aaron Rodgers of 2021 is Deep South Buckeyes quarterback Justin Fields. And I was listening to the Chris Sims podcast earlier today, and I saw this. And you also sent me this corresponding tweet about 10 minutes before the show started that had Chris Sims' 2021 mock draft. He only did one, and let me put his actually, I don't think that's. Give me just a second, but we'll put his mock draft of all 32 picks in the first round on the board so you can see it, because there is, just like I said, Justin Fields plummeting in his draft, And he's not just plummeting out of the top 5 or out of the top 10. Now I can put it up for you. He doesn't have him in the first half of the first round. Where's Fields? Not 18, not 19, not 22, not 25 to Jacksonville because they already drafted Trevor Lawrence. Justin Fields barely in the first round at number 32, going to the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He goes behind a Michigan man in Kwity Paye. He goes behind not one, but 2 Nittany Lions in Micah Parsons and Jason Owe, who he has going number 15. Whether it's Justin Fields or it's somebody else, who do you see as the guy that could really plummet like Aaron Rodgers did in the first round of this draft?
I just want to say my friend who's lives in Chicago and he's a lifelong Bears fan. He's actually the one that sent me that link, and with the a message that he said if the Bears pass on Fields at 20, that you can shoot him into the sun with a cannon. That they wouldn't believe it. I'm going to tell you, this is coming in as hot as possible if you're Chris Sims. And you know what? A couple of years ago, he said that he liked Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson over Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen. So he was right, and Baker Mayfield. He was right on that. Last year, he liked Herbert over Tua. He was right on that. Mm-hmm. If Fields somehow, if all of these teams that need QBs, and Fields has been linked with Trevor Lawrence ever since these guys were at Elite 11 camps when they're in high school. If all of these GMs and coaches, they just take Justin Fields and they're just passing him on down the line like, no. They saw him in that semifinal against Lawrence throw the 6 touchdowns, throwing it like effortlessly 55 yards in the air down the field and hook it up with all those receivers stretching the field like they're taking the top off the defense. If the Bears pass on them and all of them, and it ends up being the Bucs at 32, I'll tell you what, there's a team that should go out and hire Chris Sims as their general manager, because that it just seems and then I guess to boot, if he ends up not being any good, like if he goes to 32 and he ends up being awesome, then like Chris Sims, like, yeah, okay, everybody was listening to Chris Sims, hot take, but you were wrong. But it's such a hot take that if he's right. And if you're saying that Fields falls to 32, what you're saying is that you think he sucks. And if he ends up not being a starting quarterback in the NFL and all these teams pass on him and he falls into the 20s and Sims is right, some team ought to go out there and get Chris Sims as their general manager in a couple of years.
To be clear, he's never said that Justin Fields sucks. But listening to the podcast earlier today, he did say that he made one tweak in his evaluations, and he moved Justin Fields down one spot from the 5th quarterback in the draft to the 6th best quarterback in the draft. He moved him, I think he moved him behind Trey Lance because he had those two neck and neck, and I believe he had Kellen Mond at number 4, but he does not have Mond going in the first round because he doesn't think anybody's going to take him. This is a very hot take, but at the same time, he's not the only expert to say that he's a little bit troubled with how Fields seems to only have one read. Sims is seemingly on his own when he says that he doesn't like his accuracy, which I think is absurd. I mean, the guy had 1 interception in his first year at Ohio State before the CFP. He said that he doesn't like his mechanics, and I think I've heard what's his face McShay say something about his mechanics too. And then of course you got the epilepsy and the work ethic stuff. I think it's clear at this point that he's not going to match the mock drafts that we had in the fall, which all had him going number 2. I think there's still a chance that he goes number 3, but that's very low. I think he could still. I think that the odds are still in favor of him being a top 10 pick, because while the Lions are a possibility, I don't think it's going to happen. A team could trade up with the Lions. There's been some rumors about the Panthers taking him at 8 after they traded for Sam Darnold. I think that's dumb. But the Broncos, I think they're a perfect team to take him at number 9 because they have the receivers, they have the defense, and Drew Lock is the most inaccurate quarterback in the NFL. And falling to number 32 with The Vikings, I mean, how many more years are they going to have Cousins? The Patriots at 15, although they just gave Cam Newton $14 million. Washington football team, Bears, Steelers have one more year left with Ben Roethlisberger. I don't think that he's going to slide that far. I think the two biggest candidates for sliding are actually Micah Parsons and Trey Lance. Both of those guys didn't play last year, unless you account the one game that Lance played. Parsons, a lot of people feel, has some sort of major character issues, some sort of big red flag. But like I said, he doesn't have to be the NFL Man of the Year. And Trey Lance, not only did he not play, but North Dakota State, you don't take advantage of an opportunity to go out there for a second year and beat up a bunch of Pee-wee folks. I could see him sliding at least out of the top 15 past New England.
Yeah, I agree with you on Lance. You know what? He looks like a great prospect, but you look at that completion percentage, his accuracy, I would say that's something to question. And you're going to have to sit on that guy for at least 2 years before you get him out there. I know that Dan Orlovsky said exactly the opposite. Because he hasn't played, you got to get him out there and get him up on the horse right away. But, good luck with that. You're going to end up getting the guy killed, and you can be so overmatched in the NFL. I think that he'll be sitting for 2 years. And I can see that when it comes down to that, like, you might be a team that'll be late in the 20s. We talk about you can get that extra year, so then you can slow play them. A team that doesn't need a QB, that's when you're going about that. Pittsburgh makes a lot of sense to me. But, I think Lance would be the one to slide. And I think when it comes down to Fields, if you look at the over and under in his draft position just today, again, little spoiler for the major wager, it's 7.5. So if you're a team like the Panthers, they're at 8, or the Broncos at 9, you know that teams might be coming up to 7 because you know that the Lions want to move back. So the Lions and Fields there, they got to decide whether they want to take them. But then you know that they are really looking to move back there. That's why you can see the Panthers jumping in. You can see the flip-flopping. You can see the Broncos moving up a couple spots.
You think the Panthers would want to move up after trading for Sam Darnold?
Yeah, well, I think, they wanted Matt Stafford. I don't think they're, wed to Sam Darnold. And
they traded assets to get him, though.
They did, but you know what? I think that they're sitting there. They haven't given him the gigantic contract extension here. So I think that they could look in there and they could say, look, we could take Fields. Like, again, the thing with the quarterbacks here is it's all really about getting it right. They have Darnold coming in there. They haven't given him the gigantic extension. Let's just say whatever they would give, they didn't have to give up a whole lot if they wanted to move up a spot, with the Lions, whatever it's going to be. If they feel like, that's their guy, well, then they go with Darnold. And if Darnold's great, they can look to move Fields. And if Darnold's not all that great, when they get him in there, well, then they can have Fields there as a QB. So, there's a chance. Certainly the Bronco, there's a chance. Most of that money that Cam Newton's getting is not guaranteed. It's all, I think his guarantees are only like $3 or $4 million. Most of that stuff is all incentives when it comes to Cam Newton. So the Patriots are certainly in the running to move up there. And I know the Bears. I know you don't really like to. That the Bears are coming up there, they would get Fields. Man, that would be something to have the Bears and Lions making a deal there for a quarterback that you're thinking if he ends up being elite. You see how long Favre and Rodgers and what they can do to you if he moved up. That would be really SOL for the Lions if they moved back to 20 and the Bears went up there and got Fields and he ended up being this great QB. So, I was talking a long time about that, but, Fields and the Lions have the keys there at 7 if he falls there, which that's where it looks like that he's going to be, at least a 7.5. And then I agree, Lance is the one to fall. All
right, what kind of feedback are we getting?
They all agree with me, which is pretty sweet and expected. I'm just kidding. I don't even know that. Jelinek couldn't handle another corner if he was taken in the first round. He says, the
Lions' corners suck, and if they sit there at number 7, it wouldn't make sense because I don't think there's anybody of good value. But if they trade back to 19 and they get the J.C. Horn, or if maybe Patrick Surtain falls, or they want to take a huge risk on Caleb Farley, even though he's had 2 back surgeries, their secondary sucks. I think that Jeff Okudah could be better this year, but their secondary sucks.
The secondary sucks. The linebackers suck. The defensive line is nothing to write home. The whole defense really sucks.
Correct.
Keith, not a surprise. He's talking about move down and getting Rondale Moore from Purdue.
No.
Not a surprise. Keith and I'm a big Rondale Moore guy as well.
He had one good year, and that was his freshman year. The last 2 years he got hurt. If the Lions draft him if anybody drafts him before the third round, that's a huge risk.
Keith asking if we know the Kwity Paye story. His story is really something. Bye. Everyone read about it when you can. Yeah, war-torn Africa. He got out of there. His mom saved his family by getting him into America. He's at Rhode Island. Comes out of Rhode Island. Actually, Don Brown was able to pluck him out of there. Only a 3-star player. But you only listen. I don't know what kind of player. I think Kwity Paye tested out great. And I think he'll be a fine NFL player. Deserves to go in the first round. But you only have to listen to Kwity Paye talk for about 30 seconds. And you're like, wow, man, this guy's different. This guy's very thoughtful. This guy's very smart. I love this guy. You listen to him at 30 seconds, you like him. After you listen to him for about a minute, you love him. After you listen to him for about 2 to 5 minutes, he becomes your favorite guy in the world. Everybody's going to root for Kwity Paye. Guy's awesome. The sky's the limit for that guy. Really is.
Dennis Fith, hypnotized by Kwity Paye.
Yeah, I love him. I really do. I'm with Keith. PB says if they focus on defense this draft, the team will benefit quicker. Defense, one of the worst last year. Yeah, the defense is terrible. The thing is there's not really a top 10 defender. That it's all offense. This is a weird draft. Usually you're thinking, oh yeah, take the top defender on the board. There's really not one. I know Chapman's making a case for Parsons there.
Yes.
Making a case for Parsons, but really, I don't think you're going to see a defender drafted in the top 9. Maybe the Cowboys. They're at 10.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. And a lot of people think that Surtain could go number 10. I know that Micah Parsons wants to go to the Cowboys at number 10. And with Sean Lee, another Penn State linebacker, announcing yesterday that he's retiring, you could swap out one Nittany Lion for another in the NFC East.
I like Sean Lee. This is one of my favorite responses from Jelinek ever.
Uh-oh.
He says it's really tough to gauge the Lions because both the offense and the defense were atrocious last year.
Well, and that's why, especially, and when you think about how bad they were, and you think about how they lost all their receivers, they have a new coaching staff coming in. When you talk about, they might not be this high again, they're going to be a heck of a lot higher next year in the draft.
Yeah, hey, people are like, Sewell, yeah, get Ragnar, you got Decker, build the offensive line. That sounds great. Yeah, build a quarterback. They took a step back from Stafford. They got a poor man's and Jared Goff. They don't have any wide receivers. Hey, take the greatest tight end prospect ever. And then you can make a case for any defender. So, yeah. When you're the Lions, you can make a case for any player.
Just close your eyes and point to the board and take that guy because he's going to help your team because you have that many holes.
Well, that's why people say it's a no-lose situation there at 7. You better just be because they keep saying they didn't keep saying the money quote was that we have a cluster of players.
Yeah.
That they like at 7, sure.
The Lions just don't have a cluster of talent on their roster.
Right. So everything spelled like, the Lions can be more of an open book. They're waving the flag. Hey, we're out of here. We want to move back.
Didn't Matt Prater go to a different team?
Matt Prater is gone, yeah.
Oh, so they could take a kicker too. How about that? And the big SOL folks out there, they're going to say, I bet the Lions are going to take a kicker. Well, it's kind of a need.
Holmes has his work cut out for him. That's the understatement by PB. Key says Mac Jones should drop, but I think Caleb Farley might fall to the first round due to the back surgeries. You mentioned those, chat. So sick of the black quarterbacks dropping in the draft. There's no freaking reason why Field should be dropping. None. Thought we were beyond the whole black quarterback stereotype. Well, you know what? Chris Sims didn't say that he didn't like his mechanics in throwing, and he's black. But you know what? There's enough. There's always.
Well, think about this. Think about this. Kellen Mond is the guy that he thinks is higher rated than Justin Fields. He thinks that he's higher rated than Kyle Trask and some other white quarterbacks. He thinks he's the 4th best quarterback, and nobody's talking about Kellen Mond. Kellen Mond's not white.
Yeah, I thought the one that it was like kind of a red flag, and I don't think I don't know if Dan Orlovsky's a racist, but I just think he's kind of naive or stupid. Like when he came out there and he was like, "Yeah, you know what? The guys I talk with, question his love for football and his work ethic." And it's like, what? In the off season, Fields is like completely changed his diet. Just eating vegan diet. He takes a shot. He campaigned all off season with other guys like your guy Parsons and Sewell and Chase. All these guys opted out just to protect their spot in the draft. This guy, hated football so much and questioned his love for the game and so much that he was out there leading the charge to play QB, took a big time shot in that semifinal in the back, came back, missed one play and kept playing. I don't know. Dan Orlovsky might have been out, doing some like Division II game on ESPN and he missed all of that. I don't know if he came back, but then to talk about his love of the game and his work ethic, those are like the first things. I know he likes getting up on the board, like, hey, this is what's going on. Check this out. Here's a little trick. Hey, come on. No, that was one of the most bogus. That was one of the most naive analysts ever, and he got exposed out there on TV. Old Dan Orlovsky.
I think you're still bitter at him for running out the back of the end zone.
It's not that. There was something immediately when, like he was just like, just so much in love with Stafford, Look, and I don't even mind. There are people that are just like him that love Stafford just as much, but to never point out any of like, you know what? Yeah, he sucked against the Jets that first year, and there's a lot of the times that, when he did have a running game, that he couldn't connect on the passes, and there were a few seasons in there that it was Stafford's fault as much as anybody else. When he just minted him as like, this is the greatest guy ever. Teams are going to be coming all after him, like. That was it. But then, what? There also his read on Josh Allen when he was like, it was the hottest take in the world at the time on Twitter. Like, guy couldn't chew gum and walk at the same time, couldn't read a defense. The only thing he could do is throw the ball 100 yards, and he come out like he might as well just said Josh Allen flat out sucks. It was a really hot take, Plus, he did all the film work on it. And I was like, wow, man, Dan Orlovsky. It's a hot take, but the guy played the position. This is going to be one to watch. Well, you know what? It proves to you just really just need to have hot opinions. Doesn't matter if you're right. Just have a lot of opinions. Dan Orlovsky's out there.
Well, I mean, that's oftentimes what we do. As long as you can back it up and you're entertaining, that's what matters. Now, people are going to come back sometimes and say, well, what's your track record look like? But if you come back with another very entertaining opinion, people are going to continue to watch and continue to listen. So,
you're right. Danny O. Like, who's he going to come up with next? Devontae Smith never worked a hard day in his life. And he can't run a route. Those are what my sources are telling me. It's like, hey, dude, the guy just won a Heisman Trophy. Did you watch him? Those are what my sources are telling me. Oh, all right. But Jelinek, Miggy, just hit a bomb. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy.
Did he tear his bicep running around the bases? Pumping his fists? Yes. Oh!
I want to buy the NFT for that. I haven't seen the home run. I want it. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, the non-fungible token.
Yeah, I want one.
What's the score?
1-0.
Okay. Off of Lucas Giolito. Are you ready to turn the page to the fourth chapter?
Let me just read the rest of these. Logan Paul to fight Mayweather in June. Chapman, who will you bet on?
I'm not going to bet on it. I'm not going to pay any attention. I'm not going to watch it. None of that.
I probably will.
Boxing is dead.
I don't know much about Paul, but
he knocked out Ben Askren.
I know a lot about Mayweather, and I'll take the defensive fighter to win that one, even at 50 years old. Fields has 2 excellent years, and he beat the number 1 Lawrence in the playoff game. I knew Deshaun Watson was the best QB in the draft, and sure enough, has outplayed everyone. Yeah, you're right. That whole thing about the scouts, telling everybody, waving their finger. All of you fans don't know anything about the quarterback position. You guys just watch college football. We're the ones that are watching the all 22. If you don't understand what's going on there, Mitchell Trubisky's I'm with you.
Well, and yeah, the problem for Deshaun Watson is while he was able to massage himself into a top 10 pick, he couldn't massage himself into a top 2 pick to get to the Chicago Bears.
Yeah. I can't talk anymore, so I'm ready to move on.
All right, let's turn the page now to the 4th chapter, and that takes us to the aforementioned sorry Al Avila Tigers.
The Tigers are back. Biggie's out there. He's a lot of fun, playing the game with the youthful exuberance of a 15-year-old. Comes back, had that poor day on Sunday with all the strikeouts, but look at him. He's out there, went deep in the first. Biggie's back. What about the Tigers rebuild, Chad?
Well, I think that one question that popped into my mind while I was watching Sunday Night Baseball, when they actually had real baseball teams playing, the Dodgers and the Padres, and they played 7 great games already, was about the best way to rebuild the team. And what fascinated me was a graphic that they showed. When you think about how the Padres were able to build their roster, you think, oh, was it because they went out and they spent all that money on Hosmer and spent all that money on Machado, or did they build to the draft and get all these great players in the draft when they had the opportunity? Did they get these amateur free agents and these guys from South America and the Caribbean? Check out this graph. They showed it on Sunday Night Baseball. I took a picture of it. And this shows their 40-man roster, but it has 46 players because it includes the guys that are on the injured list. Half of their 40-man roster, 23 out of 46, was acquired via trade. Only 12 via free agency, 5 amateur free agents, 5 draft picks, and 1 via the waiver wire. But half the team was constructed via trade, and I found that to be very fascinating. I thought, well, what about the Detroit Tigers? Could they do that? Well, no, they blew their opportunity because Al Avila is their general manager, and that's why that's a long way to say that the first thing that the Tigers need to do in their rebuild is to fire Al Avila. Like, it's getting old, me saying it. I've been saying it for years. But every once in a while, during the course of a baseball season, I just get really angry with the Tigers. And I'm at that point right now. They have the longest active losing streak at 5, worst record 7-16, worst run differential -38, lose by an average of a 1.5 per game, worst Tigers start since 2003, second worst batting average, worst OBP, drawn the 5th fewest walks, struck out the 4th most times, 5th worst ERA, 5th most walks allowed, 4th fewest strikeouts. And this is a guy who's been rebuilding this team for what? 4, 5, maybe 6 years. This is a guy who there's no point. I had a guy on Twitter a couple of days ago ask me how long it would be before the Tigers are competitive, 2 or 3 years, and I told him there's no point in pointing to a timeline of the Tigers rebuild or being competitive until the day after Al Avila is fired. He tried free agency, and all of his moves were terrible. He's tried the draft. Wait for the young kids to come up. None of them have panned out. Can some of them pan out eventually? Yes. But so far, none of them have panned out. He's tried making trades, and most of those players haven't even made the majors, and the majority of the guys who have made the majors have played less than 50 games. The roster's a joke. Sitting around and giving this guy more time is pointless, particularly after he wasted the opportunity to use his keen eye on talent to waste the opportunity when you traded away Kinsler and Verlander and J.D. Martinez and Justin Upton and his son and Shane Green to get a bunch of scrubs. All that has led to a point where the Tigers are still the worst team in baseball. So before we talk about, what's the best way to rebuild, we got to get somebody in here who, when he has a plan, is able to execute it. Because going out there and trading for Dawel Lugo is not the answer.
Yeah, I don't know why I watched all 4 games against Kansas City this weekend. Started out with Friday. I was watching Casey Mize, and I was like, all right, at least, I'm going to watch Mize. This is something. And then, that was not to get the way to get the weekend going. And then they just scored no runs over the next couple games there. During, I don't know if it was Sunday morning or Monday morning, I'm listening to AJ Hinch, and he's pulling out, some of the issues there. And he's like, we just have a terrible chase rate. So they don't stay in the strike zone. They chase the ball. They got the worst chase rate in baseball. Meanwhile, they have the lowest contact rate when you're talking about their hitters. That's a terrible combination. High chase rate, low contact rate, and then they're the worst team in the baseball hitting a fastball.
Yes.
That's those 3 things. and they're averaging 3 runs a game here. That's just not going to get it done. They've got a little bit of the pitching. There's been some bright spots there. Boyd, you mentioned him here, but yeah, it's just it was hard to take. Watching the Royals come in and just like the Royals coming in, they get to their bullpen, man. They got these arms, and they're just it was like back in the day when they're Wade, and they're just going 1, 2, 3. Anytime they got to the 7th inning, they never, if they got a lead and they get to the 7th inning, it's over. Being known for something like the Royals, like if they have a lead, they get late in the innings, they know how to build a bullpen to come in. The Tigers, like, come on. Tigers don't have any. What are the Tigers known for right here? It's tough. It's tough to take, and I think they couldn't even get out of April. I think that you're going to get to May, and people are going to check out. They're still angry, like you're angry right now, and I'm angry right now. But if we get to, like, they're going to play the White Sox, the Yankees, and the Red Sox, they're going to lose. It wouldn't surprise me if they lose 7 out of 9 of these games. And I think that by the time we get to May, people are just going to check out.
Oh, yeah, and May is like next week. May's this weekend. So I think a lot of folks are checking out. But it does make me angry. And, when you talk about the fastball, I still don't have Bally Sports Detroit on my TV. I've gone down to the casino to watch some games. I decided not to watch any games this weekend, which is a smart decision. And I listened to some games. Make sure you watch
on Saturday because Simo and Brooke Fletcher, they wear their plaid get-ups or whatever it is. So plaid broadcasters.
Maybe I'll wait for the picture on Twitter to come out. But look. I've been listening to Dan Dickerson and Jim Price break it down, and they've been talking about the same thing with regard to fastballs, talking about this is a team that can't hit fastballs. If you're a high school team, perhaps your issue is you can't hit breaking balls because it curves. It's not coming straight at you, and the only time you can't hit fastballs is if you have a guy that's throwing upper 80s and low 90s. But when you're a Major League Baseball team and you got a roster, a lineup full of guys that can't hit fastballs, that's a huge problem. They were talking about Victor Reyes in one at bat. Fastball. Victor Reyes was late. And Dan Dickerson mentioned it. And he said,
Victor Reyes.
Yeah, exactly. And then he said, he just struggles with hitting fastballs. Next pitch, fastball, and he's late. And he said, this is a problem. And he got the defense shifted over to the side. Then for some reason, the next pitch, the guy throws a slider, and he hits a lazy fly ball to center field to fly out. But, you got Al Avila, in his infinite wisdom, says, this guy can't hit a fastball, stick him in the lineup. This guy can't hit a fastball, stick him in the lineup. None of these guys can hit, stick him in the lineup. And he's got that all up. Like, he didn't make a mistake. He makes a mistake when it comes to acquiring talent, but when it comes to putting a roster together that has no talent, he's flawless. Nobody accidentally gets hits. Akil Baddoo was doing it for a little bit, but no. He's falling right back in line, and he's sitting in the mid-220s and sinking like a rock.
You know who can hit a curveball? Tatis. I like you, watched that game on Sunday, and it was such a stark contrast. Like, I was so fired up. The Padres got way down. Tatis brought him back. They got him into extra innings. I know you like that part. And, but, man, the crowd was jacked up. It was like, man, yeah, this is baseball. These guys are going at it. This is intensity, man. Look at all this. But, yeah, it was such a night and day proposition from watching the Tigers to watching the Padres and Dodgers on Sunday night.
And here's the other thing is on Thursday we were talking about being able to evaluate the Royals after having seen them because they came into that series with the best record in the division, and obviously they still have it because they swept the Tigers. Just from listening, I didn't get the feeling that the Royals were some Royal beaters. But the other thing is the Royals went to back-to-back World Series right at the start of the Tigers' rebuild, and then 2 years ago in 2019, like the Tigers, they had over 100 losses, and now, 2 years later, the Tigers are still at the bottom of baseball, and the Royals have the best record, if not in the AL Central, in the American League overall. That shows you if you do it right, if you actually have an eye for some talent, it's not going to take you a 5-year plan. But Al Avila doesn't have any of that, and we can't sit here and talk about any extra-year plan until he's gone. Because if he's still here in 2023, there's no 3-year plan to get things going in 2026 because he's still here screwing things up.
Yeah, I think that things could get really, when you saw Colorado's in a terrible spot, they traded Arenado for nothing and just got rid of him. Their Hall of Fame third baseman, they're the face of their franchise in the prime. I don't know anything about Rocky fans. Went to Colorado a couple years ago, but their GM resigned, a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And I've kept saying it. And I think you said it maybe 2 weeks ago. Like, it's unlikely that Chris Ilitch is going to fire Al Avila. He's just like, they're just playing this out. And, not to the end of the year, but when you see the Rockies, if there is a prospective GM out there that you want, you want to get in, and I think that's the hope. Maybe, I know it's not any fun to say, but I think maybe you get down to the ballpark in May and June, and you start, booing and heckling Al Avila.
Who's going to be there to boo? They can open up to a capacity 40,000 fans, and there'll be 4,000 fans there. Boo, boo, boo. We hate Avila.
I don't know.
Bally Sports is not going to be showing any fire Avila signs.
No, but what you find there is, even when there's only 4,000 fans, like, you get like 2,000 drunk fans, screaming for Al Avila. You can hear them. You can hear them, and it might get in that kind of situation where they're just calling for him. And
it's also hard to boo a general manager, because if somebody strikes out with the bases, the Tigers don't load the bases. If the Tigers strike out 1, 2, 3, exactly. If the Tigers go strike out, they're gonna boo the players. But it's hard to direct that directly at the general manager. Another thing I learned from listening to the Tigers broadcast is, and this is a truly embarrassing statistic. Last year, when the Tigers finished dead last in the division, in only a 60-game season, they had 3 games where they did not have a single at-bat with a runner in scoring position. That doesn't mean that they didn't score, because they could have had a man on first base, hit a 2-run home run and such. But they had only 3 games where they did not have a single plate appearance with a man in scoring position. So far, at least in the first 21 games, I think they had it in the 22nd game, but in the first 21 games of the season, that had already happened 5 times. 23.8% of the time, they went through an entire game without a plate appearance with a man in scoring position.
All right, before we get to the major wager, let's read some of the feedback on the Tigers. It's not good. Raj says they're a dumpster fire, with or without Avila. Jelinek doesn't like the SEMO talk. He wants to offer...
I'm glad I don't have to see that right now.
Coming up, we're going to talk about Victor Reyes' approach.
He was only a quarter-inch away from driving that ball out of the park, and said it was a lazy pop-out to the pitcher.
Tigers need to get some base runners. Coming up in the post-game, we'll talk about... That's what he does. It's a tough spot, but... The best way for the Tigers
to rebuild... He needs to call for Avila to be fired. Like, I know that Bally Sports is like, they're the biggest Tiger slappies, but at this point, you don't have to go out on a limb. Like, nobody watching Tigers games and be like, oh, did you hear Monroe and Petrie and John Keating all held up signs and said fire Avila? That's controversial. No, it makes sense. It's not like a couple of the 4 or 5 years ago when I was saying give J.D. Martinez a big contract extension in his first year with the Tigers. That was going out on a limb. This is not Chris Sims saying that Justin Fields might fall out the first round. Everybody knows it needs to be fired. Just go out there and say it. Hey, I'm John Keating here. Before we go back to Matt Shepard, just want to say that the Tigers need to fire Al Avila if they want things to turn around. Back to you, Shep. Oh, I couldn't agree more. 0-2 pitch drilled for a 3-run home run.
Well, the one thing that you know about all those guys is that they work for the team, so you're not going to see Shep, talking about
do it
we
for
need
the
to move
fans.
On. It's not
make
going to happen.
Make a statement.
And it's just like so your boys over. I forget it. I'm not going there. Like, there's nothing positive to say about them. So, like, that's it. We know we knew it was going to be a bad year. We just didn't think it was going to be this bad. That's. If I'm looking for something that's, can you say anything that's uplifting about the Tigers? No, not really. It's
Akil
not.
Baddoo used to be good. There you go.
Yeah, you had a hit the other night. Boyd looks like he's been okay. That's about it. The fielding. If you look at the fielding percentage, defensive runs saved. I know Dan Dickerson loves to talk about that. I've looked at that. The Tigers they're up pretty high. I think they're number 1 in baseball there, so they've got that going.
Have
for
8 web gems and lose 1-0. Woo!
There's not a whole lot there. Keith likes he's saying preach. Start spending a little money.
No. What happened when Al Avila got that opportunity and spent it on Justin Upton? He had that opportunity and spent it on Jordan Zimmerman. He had that opportunity and spent it on Mike Pelfrey. He does nothing well. Spending, drafting, trading, nothing.
Keith likes your enthusiasm, but he didn't like you calling him a puppet, when it came down to it. So, yeah, I think they should just keep going after those 1-year rental pitchers that are coming off injuries, and
that's not working
deals.
Either.
No, you don't think so?
Nothing works.
Tyson or Tyson Ross or
Irania's pitching tonight. Has he given up 3-4 home runs yet?
No, he's given up a run, but it's early.
Okay, yeah. That's
all right,
true.
Let's get to the major wager.
Yeah, let's do that. That's an opportunity for us to help you out when it comes to sports betting, particularly if you are a sports bettor in the state of Michigan where it is legal. We'll tell you what we're looking for perhaps later this week or perhaps tonight. I know, Dennis, you've been in the last week or so going hard on those NFL draft prop bets. What are you looking at for tonight?
Well, I'll tell you what I shouldn't have done, and a good thing I didn't. I just said what I was going to do, like I was going to put an exacta down on drafting Fields second, Fields third, Pitts fourth, and Jamar Chase fifth. I was getting plus 700 on that. But the 49ers have just come out, like, if these insiders know anything, they've completely eliminated Justin Fields. Like, if they're taking Mac Jones or they're taking Trey Lance, I don't think they're taking Trey Lance. So it really looks like, you just get that feel that it's not going to be Fields, so I shouldn't have made that bet. But I did take Devontae Smith to be drafted before pick 11. The over and under on him is 11.5. Fields today, his over and under to be drafted is 7.5. So sitting right there at 7 with the Lions, who I think should draft him or take the bounty to move out. So I think Fields, I like that one even more than Devontae Smith. And if I was, like, these are all just suggestions for you to bet. But I like I know Chris Sims, he's hammering the over. He's hammering the over, but I'm going to hit the under. It's the bet that I like the most here. Fields, 7.5, go under.
Okay. On Thursday, I picked under 6.5 strikeouts for Dodgers pitcher Walker Buehler against the Padres, and my model projected about 4.1 strikeouts, and I was way off because he recorded 9 strikeouts. So my model is pretty good, but it's not perfect, and that's okay. Can try again today. I was thinking about going with an NBA game. I was thinking about going with the White Sox minus 1.5 against the Tigers, but I'm going with another strikeout prop bet in Major League Baseball. This one is already underway, so you can't bet on it now, but it's Phillies pitcher Zach Eflin to get over 5.5 strikeouts against the Cardinals. Not only did I like it because the odds were plus 112 to get the over, but my model has Eflin recording 6.67 strikeouts, and so far through 3 innings, not looking all that great. He's got 2 strikeouts, but he's only thrown 52 or 51 pitches, so there's an opportunity for him to go a couple more innings and get those final 4 strikeouts. The big issue that I'm concerned about so far is that it's 3-2 Cardinals over the Phillies, so while the pitch count is okay, if he gives up a couple more runs, he could be gone before he can get above that 5.5.
And I'll tell you what, I just watched it recently, Zac Efron and Robert De Niro, and it was Dirty Grandpa or Bad Grandpa. It's a pretty funny movie there. So he's a pitcher and he's a good actor. So
yeah.
Stuff.
A multi-talented guy.
No question. All right, chap, Thursday's the big day. 100th episode of the Fifth Chapter. If you haven't done so, the hashtag Fifth Chapter Bach. We've got a prize for you coming from Pro Sport Zone. Get in there, hit it on Twitter, hit it on the podcast, the comment section.
Tweet it out
do
too.
All of that, and we will be there. We'll be here at 8:30, right when Justin Fields is getting picked third by the 49ers. So 8:30 special draft time coming up on Thursday. Thanks to Brian Jelinek. for running everything. We'll see him on Thursday.
He represents the
we'll talk with you.
By way of Penn State when Chapman gets to talk
for
sports,
Brian Chapman, I'm Dennis
can't
Smith.
wait. He represents the mid. Be a true EMU, but cut Dennis in the fall, and his veins bleeding blue. They got respect around the state when that light turns red. So don't sleep on these dudes. Just invite your friends to cut your nap short and tip your cap for and sit back for the Fith chapter. Brian Chapman. Dennis Fithian. When they open their mouths, they spitting the facts, bro. This ain't even optional, man. You just have to tune into YouTube to watch the broadcast or download it to your phone to peep the podcast. They mix laughter, they get after. It's all captured in the Fith chapter.